Welcome back. Social media had a huge influence in the 2016 election, and experts believe the same will happen today. UNLV professor Natalie Pennington is here to discuss how politicians are using social media to sway voters and what the pros and cons are of using the platforms. Natalie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, we're 4 years removed from the last election. There are all sorts of outside influence through social media. There's been a big push, as we know, from outlets like Facebook and Twitter to filter out misinformation. So how effective have those efforts been?
There's definitely trying to make sure that misinformation is dealt with. So efforts taken to fact check, to add little details, also encouraging people to share with each other. So really trying to make sure that the average citizen has the information they need when they view a post to be able to say, okay, this is real news or this is fake news.
And we know very well that candidates often use social media to get their points across. So how important has social media become to candidates when they're laying out their campaign strategy, and does it really work?
In the past, and certainly now, you see candidates using social media all the time, but it's actually more about people talking to each other that has an effect on our voting habits than the candidates themselves. And so it's when I connect with friends and family to talk about politics that it's more likely to sway me than the candidate themselves.
Okay, so as we know, President Trump is a pretty heavy social media user. Kind of curious what your take is on the pros and cons of leaders using social media in this way.
It's really interesting. I think that it's helpful to connect with your community. We saw as early as the first election with Barack Obama that he really made a big push to use Facebook in those early days. And of course, Trump now uses Twitter. But there's a balance because you definitely still want to portray a particular image and be able to get across that you're good at your job. And so making sure that you kind of take those steps to get things fact checked before you post. There was a case where the White House once misspelled a country's name and it looked really bad. So definitely just keeping in mind that social media is kind of forever.
Well, I know we talked about this before, some of your research on this and some background. I know a lot of people might be familiar with this saying, no politics at the dinner table. A lot of friends and family kind of shy away from these conversations. We've seen reports of people saying that political conversations really tear up their friendships and their family relationships as well. So what have you seen in your research, and what is a good way to respond if you do see a family member or a friend post something that maybe you don't agree with or you might think is inaccurate?
Yeah, those are great questions. Political polarization is definitely increasing, and unfortunately we are seeing people unfriend people online, get in fights offline about politics, people not attending holidays because of different political views. And so what's really important is to remember to be respectful. The chances that we're going to change somebody's mind when we're yelling at them or throwing facts at them or ideas or opinions isn't really helpful. So it's really more about listening to the other side and being respectful because your relationship should come first in that particular case.
Natalie, thank you so much. We ran out of time. I had 6 or 7 more questions to ask you, but we appreciate you so much, and we will hopefully talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll be right back.